The Lakeside Diner in Lacey Township has been making headlines since the owners reopened their dining room in June after Governor Murphy's executive order. So every day, this parking lot is filled with patrons who are supporting the owner's decision to defy the law every day. And every day, he gets a summons from the local police department. Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Mendte. New Jersey Assemblyman Bergen supports the Lakeside Diner. As a matter of fact, he supports Jim's reopening too, because he's been traveling over 100 miles a day to work out in Pennsylvania. Here's my interview with Republican Assemblyman Bergen from New Jersey's 25th Legislative District. I was taken by the article, I guess, in NJ.com that said that you travel, well over 100 miles back and forth to Pennsylvania to work out. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I started going to a gym in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, because that's where the gyms were open. My gym closest to my office was closed down recently because they just couldn't afford to continue to put somebody there for the outside gym. So they closed down. So yeah, I've been going to a gym in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, Planet Fitness. It was they're operating really well, doing a great job. It's super clean. They have guys walking around with backpacks spraying stuff. It's just really fantastic. And
so you
safe.
Absolutely feel safe there, and I imagine you feel the same thing could have been done in New Jersey.
Oh, and there's no doubt. And the governor, thank goodness, just finally realized that it's possible. And in September 1st, I believe, is when we're going to be allowed to go to gyms here in New Jersey.
How do you feel overall about the way that the governor has handled the pandemic and the reopening of the state?
Yeah, I think the reopening of the state has been terribly delayed. And, since the beginning, the governor has said that data is driving his decisions. That's been since day one. That's been his message every single day. But the fact of the matter is the data is mythical and the criteria is mythical.
Explain that when you say mythical, because there's real data. There's real data out there.
Right. Yeah. So I would say this, Larry. This is the most important question that I try and ask people when they say the data is driving his decisions. I say, well, okay. So what criteria exists for the opening of gyms? That data that he mentions, the transmission rate that he mentions, and the daily hospitalizations, right? What combination, what number for each of those different metrics? What defines a good time to open indoor dining? No one can answer that question. He can't answer that question. It's all just done by it seems just based on the decision of the day. It's crazy.
It is odd, and I think this has been pointed out by a lot of people. It is odd that he announced that they could open indoor dining, and then he changed his mind that week. He announced that schools were going to go back, and then he changed his mind on that. Do you believe any of that was data driven?
No, I don't.
What was it driven by?
I don't know. Sometimes we get, I feel like the policy decisions are based on what he sees in the news. He sees a party of people not social distancing, and then he kind of penalizes the entire system for it. We learn about it, literally, the legislature too learns about these decisions in his 12 o'clock briefings. And I also don't think that the governor or his advisors really understand how safe these things can happen. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, I'm going to a gym in Pennsylvania. It's safe, it's clean, social distance. I feel safer in that place than I do walking on a busy street right now. Okay, and indoor dining too. I've eaten many times indoors in Pennsylvania while I've been there at Buffalo Wild Wings, Panera Bread. It is so clean and safe, and that I just don't understand how it's okay 50 miles to my west. And nothing is happening. They're not having massive outbreaks from this stuff. But here in New Jersey, this magic 8 ball he's using is saying it's not okay.
So you believe he has too much power when it comes to making decisions in an emergency?
Way too much.
Is that right?
Yes, he has way too much power. And I think we need to recognize the fact now that no governor should have this much unilateral authority at any time. And, so this is an important learning curve, I think, for us, and we need to take some action legislatively to make sure this never happens again. Now, I'm not saying all his decisions are bad, okay? But what I am saying is that no one person should ever have this much authority. It's not designed that way. Our government is not set up that way. We're supposed to have 3 equal branches of government, and right now we have one guy making these decisions. Now, and the legislative branch is not involved in these decisions. Like I said, I'm a sitting assemblyman. I find out what the governor decides to open and not open at his noon briefing when he talks to everybody.
And you have a bill to change that. Specifically, what does your bill do?
That's right. So I have a bill. It's A4147. It has a Senate counterpart too, which would allow the governor in a state of emergency the flexibility to do executive orders like he's doing today. But it would limit his power for each executive order to only 14 days. So what that would do was the governor could do things in emergency, which he needs to be able to do, but then has to get the legislature to agree to extend it. Because
it would also give the legislature 14 days knowing that it's going to come to debate it and look at the data and make a decision.
Yeah, right. Well, exactly. Now he could, under my bill, the governor could do an executive order shutting everything down like he did, right? He wouldn't have to wait a minute to do that. He could do it unilaterally right away. But it could only last for 14 days without the legislature convening. Right. And that's just so important because the legislature is made up of 120 people from all across the state, from all the different diverse communities with different constituencies and different economies and different geographies. And so our opinions, collective, our debated opinions, will give a broader view of what's best for New Jersey. That's why we're made up this way.
It's also the way our republic was set up, so that
and it's also the way a republic was set up. No one person should have this much authority.
You are, unfortunately, just for this situation, you're unfortunately a Republican in a predominantly Democratic state. Do you have any support on the other side for this?
I do. Senate President Sweeney has already agreed to put the bill up and push it through, but Speaker Coughlin does not want to put it up in the Assembly. I've spoken to Senate President Sweeney directly. And he has told me he likes it, he understands the need for it, and once we can get Coughlin on board, he'll put it through the Senate.
So you would suggest that people that support you on this bill would write to Speaker Coughlin?
Yes, that would be the most helpful part. Yes, definitely.
New Jersey Assemblyman Brian Bergen. When we come back, New Jersey electric customers have been getting their bills this month and getting quite a shock. But there's something you can do about it. We'll tell you when Jersey Matters continues.